Hey there, everybody. Welcome to a new Black Friday discussion all about the Blacklist as we prepare for season 9.
We're getting ready. It's still a little bit of a wait, guys. It's not till October, but we will be here every Tuesday and Friday until it comes back.
This video is all about the idea of Reddington's empire, the focal point of a lot of stuff on this show, because at the end of season 8, Red was so intent on passing that empire over to Liz,
Yep.
who is now seemingly dead, and so now we don't know what happens to the empire.
Yeah, so this video is going to be all about what we think happens to the Empire, who he gives it to, does something else happen to it? We've got some ideas for you.
So before we get into any of these ideas, why not get into hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss any Blacklist
nice.
discussion? Thank you. And we also have coming up a lot of coverage on Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Animal Kingdom. We just got done doing a new American Horror Stories video.
Also, we have new mics. So, just in case you're hearing something a little bit different, we have upgraded our microphones. But if you guys do hear anything that's sort of like, oh, that doesn't sound right, please leave it in the comments. We are still sort of experimenting to make sure that the sound quality is better for you guys. So, any feedback is good for us.
Absolutely. We want to be crisp, clear, and right on point.
Also, hit up our Instagram, Matt and Jess TV. Thank you to everyone who's gone over there and given us a follow. It's been really cool.
Okay, so the obvious inevitable thing here is that, Liz is gone and that leaves the state of Reddington's empire kind of just in the wind.
Okay, my hope is that going into season 9, that he's going to dismantle his empire. I've mentioned this before, the idea that this brings in the task force, that maybe if that burn notice on Liz, Pan Baker said, task force done, pulling it apart. Okay, cool. So how do we incorporate them into the show and keep them there? Let's bring them over and have them start working with Reddington to dismantle his empire. Because if he doesn't need to protect Liz anymore, and the whole idea of the empire was to sort of give it to her to protect her, if she's out of the picture now, he doesn't need to do this anymore. And we saw him sort of playing around with the idea in season 8 of having a normal life and having the idea of being with Anne, who is now seemingly dead. But that idea of just that normalcy and wanting to kind of get out of this and just retire somewhere or just have a normal life. I mean, I'd really like to see a happy ending for him. This is Blacklist, so probably not. But, a girl can hope.
We can all hope. We can all dream. I don't think that's too much to ask. I like this idea, mostly just because it would kind of bring the show a little bit more full circle. And also, are there really any other great viable candidates out there to actually inherit this empire at this point?
It also brings the show back a little bit to that procedural part that a lot of us really liked. Like, I like the overall arc story of Reddington and Liz, but if Liz is gone and that main story is kind of like poof, then why not bring us back to a little bit of a Blacklister of the week? It brings the task force in more, everybody working together to take down everyone that was part of Reddington's empire so that he can just move on.
We will talk about some other candidates, though, for who could be, in charge of this eventually. And, I know that Agnes is a name that gets thrown out there a lot.
Yeah.
There's some problems here, starting with the fact that, she is a child and it is going to be many, many years before she can adequately do anything that has to do with this empire.
She is very young. Like, she looks like she's like 7 or 8 or something like that. And if Reddington is dying, like he said he is, yes, I know Dembe said that the treatment is working, but that might mean it's just working right now. Reddington has said he's dying. If that is the case, then by the time Agnes is old enough to even start really training for this, because I'm going to assume that Reddington is not going to train someone who is a minor in doing this. This is not really who he's been. So training her once she's 18, 10 years later, Reddington's probably dead.
It's True. It's just that's been what the show has set up all this time. And maybe they want to go in a direction where Agnes is sort of an heir apparent, but you would kind of need to have like some sort of like interim CEO of the Reddington organization along the way to make that happen.
Yeah, so I mean, we could talk about Dembe, who makes sense since he's kind of his right-hand man, but he's also long said that he's been there as more sort of a spiritual advisor to, yeah, he helps Reddington with his empire and whatever, but Debbie has a deeper purpose, and the purpose is to sort of protect Reddington's soul and his spirit and to keep him from getting too dark into things. So would Dembe actually take over a criminal empire? No, 0 out of 10. That's not a thing he's gonna do. Even if it's gonna protect Agnes, I think Agnes isn't in the same spot as Liz that she needs this kind of protection. I could be wrong, and they could be bringing it into season 9 that now it's protect Agnes, but I'm really hoping they're not going in that direction. It's time for a new direction.
The show needs a more radical shift than just kind of putting Agnes into Liz's role and acting as though nothing is different.
Yeah.
And Dembe, I love Dembe, but I love Dembe sort of the way he is. I don't think Dembe would want to be a leader in this sort of way. Like his charisma, it's different than the Reddington charisma or the sort of charisma that's necessary to run like this kind of organization.
I just think he has a different purpose. The purpose is not to be a criminal. He just happens to be helping a criminal, but it is more about sort of a spiritual journey, protecting his soul. Like if Dembe was handed this, I could easily see him being like, well, I guess my work here is done. It's time for me to go.
Okay, now we're going to really cast the line out here in some really weird directions that probably are not going to happen at all.
Yeah.
The task force. Is there anyone on this task force that could actually reasonably take over Reddington's empire in some shape or form?
It would be interesting to see someone like an Aram take it over because we know that he is inherently good. But yeah. We have seen him sort of like toe that line when it really comes to protecting people he loves. And he's very passionate about, protecting Liz, protecting Agnes. He's been very passionate about it. Do I think he would do it? No. Wrestler, though, he feels like somebody that has gone on a journey with Reddington, with Liz, and someone who might be there at this point now. He started off as sort of this Boy Scout, but as we got to know him more, there's a real dark side to Wrestler as well. And in this last season, he's very much sort of been in this center position where he's not exactly with the task force. He's a little bit over here with Liz. He's a little bit over here with Reddington. He's really been a roadway to a bunch of different things. And that actually puts him in a really good position to be able to run something like this.
I think if the end game here with running this empire would be to help Agnes in some sort of way or preserve Liz's legacy, or like if it's tied to Liz somehow, we know how Wrestler feels about Liz. He basically spent all of season 8 just obsessing over her. So I feel like he would take the role on if it sort of meant that particular purpose. I could see it.
Yes, absolutely. I think if it's just, do you want a criminal empire? Then Wrestler's answer is go kick rocks. But I think if it's, do you want to take over this empire because now Agnes is alone, her mom is dead, her dad is dead, she needs this protection, you loved Liz, you cared about Liz, she's your friend, your co-workers, romantic interest, would you then be willing to do this for Agnes? I can see Wrestler then being like, okay.
I kind of want to watch the show, though, where Aram is running it, and we can call it the Aram list. And number one on the Aram list, the great croissant thief.
Yeah.
I'm still not over the croissants.
Well, the great croissant thief is dead.
Yeah, this is true. He's the number one threat is already taken care of on the Aram list. But, the only other possibilities out there is just, is it someone from Reddington's organization or someone Reddington has worked with in the past, and I just don't know if the real momentum is there for that.
No, I think it would have to be someone that he's been real close to for a real long time that hasn't betrayed him. I mean, Priya's out there, but she's so new. There's
Yeah.
just no way. Paula's out there. She's so new. There's just no way. I mean, a lot of the people that were really close to him, like Mr. Kaplan, are gone.
Yeah.
So I'm just not sure. Ilya's not really in a great frame of mind. Yeah. Ivan ended up spilling all the secrets. Like, I just don't know who's really left for him outside of Dembe that he can really trust. And like we said, I don't think Dembe's going to take that position unless it's like he really has to.
Yeah, like Ilya is the only one that like makes like even 1% sense to me. But even with that, like you said, his head's not really in a great spot, and I don't think his heart is in it anymore anyway.
No, I don't think his heart's in it. His mental state is not that great. I just don't think it's a very good idea, and I don't think that Reddington would think that that's a great idea.
No matter what they decide for Reddington's empire, I just think for me, I just need to see more of the Reddington cronies this season. I know he's going to be obviously in a very bad, devastated sort of way, but I want Brimley and his torture goat. I want Paula. Like, I want all of these just like weird and wacky people to still be a part of this show.
Yeah.
Without them, what is the Blacklist really?
I don't know.
The sad list. Okay.
Oh!
All right.
The sad list.
The Aram list and the sad list. I'm done with the puns, but okay. Well, we'll turn this over to you guys. Who do you think could run Reddington's empire on the Blacklist? What could it look like?
Who could it be?
Let us know in the comments and hit that subscribe button. Check out our coverage of Animal Kingdom this weekend, of American Horror Stories. We'll see you here next time.